Hello, everybody, and welcome to the long-awaited holiday episode number 27 of Two Old Guys Talking About Stuff Nobody Cares About. I'm Curtis Coons, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Victor Garcia.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm fixing my hair as I'm talking. I'm fixing it.
Victor, it's been a while.
I know.
Like 2-3 weeks?
It's been a while. Yes, we've been busy with...
Lives.
Well, I've been working in ground transportation.
Wow. Was that exciting?
It was interesting.
I've been living vicariously through your stories of
Yes,
ground transportation. We can't say who it was, can we? We can't say. It's just a large bus company that's nationally known.
Yes.
Some say it might have gone to the dogs.
Well, I'm not going to even say anything like that. But
Okay.
I can tell you right now that you have not seen the world until you have seen the live action version of Bus Station, which is, it's interesting stuff. A lot of good people work there, take care of people, but so I'm just going to say it's a lot of interesting stories.
Let me guess. There were a lot of homeless people hanging there wanting to charge up their phones, just hanging out there.
Yes,
a lot of homeless
yeah, that happens. That really
and let me guess, there were a lot of people upset that their bus had already left.
Yeah. When you walk in to a bus station, just let me tell you something. When you walk in to catch a bus that leaves at 7:50,
Yes.
and performance is very important.
Right.
To be on time.
Just like an airplane.
It's travel. So when you walk in at 8:01 p.m., but your bus was leaving at 7:50 p.m., which is...
So you're like 11 hours early.
No, you're leaving...
Oh, you mean they got there after?
Yeah, bus leaves at 7:50 p.m. People walk in at 8 o'clock, which is 10 minutes ago,
Right.
and say, I'm here to catch the 7:50 bus. That bus has left. And then they're very, very angry.
At you.
At me, yes.
Because the bus left on time.
Yes. Or
You son of a bitch.
bus coming in late from like the west where like snowstorms
Uh-huh.
blowing through. And so they would get angry that the bus was late coming into the city and getting to a connecting bus going to somewhere else. So
And these were people in suits, usually going to a business meeting, most likely.
yeah. You can say that. And I'm freezing in here. So anyway, yes. So I'm shivering.
Victor, a couple things, and for those of you just tuning into our show for the first time, we get on a topic and then we completely get off topic by just rambling. Basically.
Well, because it's two old guys talking about shit no one cares about.
We're two old guys talking about stuff nobody cares about. Victor, and every week I try to say something humorous to Victor to try to crack him up on the air, something he's never heard of. Victor, did I tell you I spent $25 on a new leather belt? Didn't fit. What a waste. Big waste.
Yeah, okay.
Get it?
I got it.
Okay. No, what I want to do, and you have no idea what I'm going to hit you with. I'm going to try to, every episode, come up with a question and with answers that you choose to try to determine if we can figure out if you're technically Gen X, baby boomer, millennial, whatever the hell that other group in the middle, the weirdos were, all the fucking with the grunge bullshit. Anyway, I've got these tests. So, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
This is a tough one.
Okay.
I came up with this myself, okay? There's a new restaurant opened up in town. You've wanted to try it. And you go in there to have lunch. You sit down, you order your lunch, they bring your food. There's a family a couple tables away from you, a man and a woman with their 3 sons. One of their sons has special needs. And he's barking and being loud and barking and being loud, being loud. Okay, here's your answers to choose from. Do you A, get up from your table and go over and approach them and say you're here to enjoy your meal and you don't want to hear this and get your son in control? Or do you B, this is B, okay? Mm-hmm. Get up, go to the restaurant manager and say, I am offended. I'm complaining. You need to shut this down now. I'm here to enjoy my meal. Or do you C, this is tough, you ready?
Okay.
C, get up and approach the people and say, I sympathize with what you're going through. I have a cousin who has a son that's special needs. So I understand what you're going through. Don't worry. Or do you D, sit there, eat your food, mind your own business, shut the fuck up? Which you D.
I'm going to go D.
Yeah, D. Yeah. That's us. We're D.
Yeah, we're D.
Everybody younger than us is C, B, and A. Let me tell you, everybody younger than us is CBNA. We live in a different world. We're two old guys talking about stuff nobody cares about. Simply because we've left the world behind. The world is a new place of offended everybody type people.
Well, let me tell you that I've been
D
there and on an airplane. This was 3 years ago. I'm flying to Las Vegas, and there was a mom and a child behind me, and for some reason, the child was right behind me.
Of course.
And he was probably 3 or 4, and 3 or 4 year olds trapped on a plane, and he's kicking my seat, and he's just keeps kicking my seat, and so I peered between the seats, and he saw me. So what do? I started the game of hide and seek, the peekaboo game, yeah. And so this was a 2.5-hour flight. We land, I get up, and I look behind me, and I said, "Are you the person that kept kicking my seat?" And he looked at me. He was probably 4. And his mom said, "I am so sorry. I'm so sorry." I said, "It's not a big deal. He's just a baby. It's okay. It's okay.
That's what they do.
It's okay." And I remember before that, I was on a flight back from somewhere, and I was with Mike Wagner.
Oh yeah.
And that's
Must
when Mike.
Vegas.
Well, no, Mike and myself and Bill, we went to Houston.
Oh, okay.
For a baseball game, and so
pardon me.
On the way back, I was sitting on the end of a row, and there was a lady and a guy to my left, and the guy all of a sudden got his seat and started pushing it back real hard, and the lady behind us said, "Hey, wait, that's my you're doing it against my child." He's like, "Well, he keeps kicking my seat."
Yeah.
And Mike said something. He's just a child, and I leaned over. I said, "Dude, cool it," to the passenger. And he sat there, and his wife looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "That's not your fault." I said, "What's he doing?" "So he's just in a bad mood." I said, "That's just a baby."
Yeah.
So I kept leaning over and staring at the guy. Then he wouldn't have eye contact with me anymore. So, I mean, I wasn't going to fight him or anything. I was just going to mean mug him until he came back to reality. So he would not be a D.
No, he wouldn't be a D.
No, he wouldn't be a D. And he was probably
he'd be an A.
He was probably our age.
Yeah. Yeah. And sadly, we've reached the age where we're apologizing more for adults than we are for children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I don't apologize for strangers. Right. For their bad behavior. But I will apologize to the victims.
Right.
Of their behavior. You're old.
And, I don't have any young kids anymore. I got a grandbaby. Got a 5-year-old grandbaby. But I want to give you a tip. For those of you out there that are listening that have young kids, if you have a couple kids in flight and you think your kids are restless or whatever, give them a bunch of children's Tylenol. They get on the plane, they'll fall asleep all the way to Hawaii. You know what I mean? We did. We'd get that extra strength children's Tylenol and just load them up. And they'd be on the plane. And everybody go, "Your children are so well behaved." Well, yeah, they're coding out, man. Of course they're behaved.
You know what, though? I think the technology helps now that you can put a pair of headphones on and have them watch a tablet and download some movies to it. And that would actually take care of a good hour, I think. And then they might fall asleep. But I don't apologize for people's bad behavior. 'Cause I've seen a lot of bad behavior in the last month and a half of adults.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a lot of just bad behavior.
I can't even watch the news. I can't either. It's just insane. We live in a world where everybody's offended. Oh, here's something I wanted to talk to you about. We really don't have a set topic today. But our friend that owns the roofing company, they had a Christmas party, a week ago Saturday, I guess it was. And I went there, and there was a young lady I know, and her name is Lexi. Very beautiful girl. And we were sitting talking, a table full of people, and the other people were all my age. And I don't know, somehow the topic of getting vaccinated, well, I know what it was. I had gotten my booster shot. Mm-hmm. My Pfizer shot, the third one. I got the 2 that you're supposed to have. Now I've got the booster. And the booster made me really sick for a couple days. I mean, really, really sick. But now I feel fine, and, I can go see my elderly relatives that are still around and feel more comfortable being around them. But I brought up to her, she's 27, that's important. I said, I don't see any big deal with the vaccine. When I was in school, they lined us all up in the gymnasium once a year.
I remember that.
Maybe twice a year. I can't remember. But we would have to get vaccinated. She goes, at school? I said, yeah. She goes, I don't believe you. And everybody at the table said, and we all went to different schools. She goes, oh, yeah, they lined us up. And I think polio, at the time we were taking it, might have been the sugar cube.
It was the sugar cube,
with the little dot on it. Might have been but the other stuff, what?
That was our boosters. Those were our boosters.
Yeah, those were our boosters. But what was the one that had that gun thing that left the
measles?
The rose.
That was
left the rose thing, the scar on my arm. Still, I've still got the scar. But it just a big light goes off in my head that people younger than us don't understand that these things were mandatory. And I think where a lot of it came from, and you may disagree with me, was the fact that we had a president in the 40s, FDR, that was crippled from polio.
Yeah.
And also polio wasn't just something, well, do you have it, don't you have it, I don't know. But I mean, people were actually physically being crippled by it. And a lot of people end up in iron lungs. Remember those things?
Yeah.
And there was pictures circulating of hundreds of iron lungs in a room. And these people lived out their life in a giant machine. And as a nation, we stood together. We're going to eradicate this thing. And we did. So we stood together and eradicated it. And I can't comprehend. I can't wrap my head around the thinking or the mentality of it's traipsing on freedoms. When I'm like, hey, if it's a public safety thing where it's something that I could contaminate somebody else and kill them, I have an obligation to do what I can to minimize it, right? But this person, Lexi, she wasn't against what I was saying. She was just amazed by the fact that schools actually mandated it. And I told her, I said, back then, we're talking in the 70s. If we'd had a mom come running in the gymnasium saying, you're not going to give my children these vaccinations and track them and put a camera in them, that mother would have been silently taken away and she would still be in whatever nut house they put her in 40, 50 years later. I
don't remember ever, and maybe this is our generation.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember any parent disagreeing with the vaccines that we had.
No.
Because we had the measles vaccine, we had the polio vaccine. Right. We also had, later in life, I know my older kids had the chicken pox.
Right. And I had chicken pox.
I had chicken pox. Yeah. I had chicken pox in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
That was terrible. No.
And then mumps. Remember mumps?
Yeah. I had some type of mumps thing. But I remember being in the gymnasium and Teresa Gray was standing behind me. And she had to have the shot.
Yeah.
And I had to have this. I took the sugar pill. And we were in alphabetical order. Of course, we both had the last name
Garcia,
of Garcia,
Gray. Yeah. I was always next to Todd Lee.
So we were in line, and she was freaking out about the shot. I remember her just being like freaking out. So they gave her the shot, and she yelled out some cuss word. It was like, she was like, "God damn it," or something like that. And that nurse eyes just went big and said, "Oh my."
Yeah.
But just what we had to do.
Yeah, but and
times change.
Well, yeah, and what people I don't think get a grasp on is, okay, like smoking. I want to smoke. Okay, I want to smoke. I'll smoke at home. I smoke in my car. But now they found out that secondhand smoke tends to kill people.
Yes.
Right. And so when you go to a restaurant,
Dan Rowan.
Right. Dan Rowan. We've talked about this before. Rowan and Martin. That was
Dan Rowan.
Dan Rowan. So anyway, they can regulate that. They can regulate it when you have something that you can do or within you that harms somebody else. Yes, they have control over that. Yep. They can. If you want to sit at home and do stupid shit to yourself, feel free to. That's your right. That's your freedom. It's your freedom to get.
It's like smoking with kids in the car.
Right.
They're regulating that more and more and more.
Yeah.
Which is understandable because secondhand smoke is really bad.
Secondhand smoke's really bad. It kills. So in public places, these venues that you go to or whatever, these restaurants, they can say no secondhand smoke, right? And it's the same thing with the virus. I can get the virus and it maybe not do anything to me, give me a little cough, but I go visit Aunt Mary Jane and go shake her hand and she dies, a week later.
Right.
That was on me. So they have the right to regulate that kind of stuff. But it just amazes me to talk to a 27-year-old young lady that just she couldn't wrap her mind around the fact that schools actually is where you went to get inoculated. And when I went to college, you had to show your inoculation cards and everything to be able to be enrolled in college.
You had to have your vaccination records.
Right.
Yep.
When you're in public places and you have health issues that could harm someone else, that can be regulated by the government. It's not it's not a thing. They're not traipsing on your freedoms, and they're not going to come to your house and tell you can't drink milk, whatever the fuck. But it's just the way it's been portrayed. And it doesn't matter where a virus starts to me. When this planet gets more and more and more people, when I graduated in 81, there was 2.8 billion people on this planet. There's like 7 billion now, right?
You remember the Chinese theory that if everybody in China jumped up and down on the ground, it would knock the earth out of its orbit?
Which is, I don't know if they've ever done it. Thank God, I hope they don't. But my point is, okay, when we get to the point where there's 12 billion people on this planet, do we just think Mother Nature, the balance of this earth, is just going to sit there? Do you think that the natural, what I would describe as antibodies of the earth, do you think they're going to try to come up with things to kind of thin the herd? Of course they are. That's just how it is. And so things that used to happen every 3 years or every 300 years you get a pandemic, and then it was every 200 years. Now they're saying it's every 100 years. It's going to be every 10 years, every 5 years, every year we're going to have something weird.
What? That reminds me of the theories that they used to spout about natural disasters. Remember, they used to build the big, you had to have, like new construction had to have this big pit next to like a building or something, and it was for the every 150-year flood.
Yeah.
Every 150 years we're supposed to get this major flood, so they would build these big holes next to the buildings, and that was for the runoff for the possible flood every 150 years. And the reason I say 150 years, I remember being somewhere and there was new construction, and I said, "What is that hole for? Is that for a pool?" And the guy said, "No, that's for the 150-year flood. It's supposed to come through every 150 years. We get a major flood." And
how long has it been? 149 years.
137. But that was the theory back then. And now you have floods at some part in the country, in our country, in our country, which is causing mudslides in California, flooding in the South, flooding on the East Coast, tornadoes in the Midwest.
But this tornado we just had in December that wiped out Kentucky
more frequently than every few years. It's every year we have to be on our guard. So I don't.
It's getting worse, and it's just there's a balance in nature. Okay, we pollute the atmosphere. The atmosphere is just thick with smog and pollution and stuff. Well, Mother Nature's like, well, we need to clean that up. So they have this massive storm that cleans it up and accidentally wipes out 300,000 people. It's just a balance in nature. It's just what happened, right?
Well,
it's just what happens.
But, and here's where I will take the left turn on what your theory is, which I agree. I'm not gonna ever debate someone else's theory.
And I am not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist.
Don't get your news from me.
Yeah. So my deal is just like with the pandemic, and then we're losing so many people. I mean, there's no other reason but for the pandemic that we are losing, a lot of good people. I mean, I lost family and friends.
Yeah, I have too.
And so, and here's my big but, where I take the left turn. There is a way that we can kind of curb that, and it's proven that we can curb that from losing people, but
it just postpones.
It just postpones the inevitable if you don't participate in trying to help everybody else.
Right.
And that's my opinion. Don't hate me. I'm not going to trunch on anybody's rights about either getting the shot or not getting the shot. I got the shot, and I had got it afterwards, but my sickness from my positive result was only 2 days.
Yeah.
I was fully vaccinated, got it. I was sick for 2 days and better.
Have you ever been to Walmart, Target, or any kind of grocery store, and you unload your shopping cart in your car, and you're taking your shopping cart over to the place where you drop off the shopping carts, but you look out there and there's 7 or 8 other people that just leave their shopping cart and they drive off. Yeah. Those are the fuckers that won't get the shot. Because it's not about helping anybody else. It's about me. It's me. It's just me.
I'm telling you that I have been...
Victor, it's me. Why should I have to take a shot? They got people paid for that.
Yeah, well, until that cart rolls down and dents your car, then it's like, that son of a bitch didn't take it back to the cart stand.
But it's just kind
of I'm telling you.
It's just kind of a mentality. And also, the people that are struggling in life and barely getting by, but they're happy, those are not the ones that are unhappy. The ones that are unhappy are the guys with the 3 monster trucks and the, house and the big flags out front and everything. They got all they want to do, but by God, that other guy's got something too. I hate him.
I don't see. I see that, but I don't see that. I completely agree.
I'm generalizing. Nothing's 100%. I'm generalizing.
If I had, and thank God I don't. Thank God I don't have neighbors. I did, but she died. That were like that. That were not. I don't know how to describe her. She was just everybody just agreed she was crazy and drunk. But she was our neighbor from hell, and that I couldn't put bags of leaves on the side of my house until I disposed of them without her turning me into the city the next day since I put them there.
Well, they were leaves.
I had a pile of limbs in the backyard that I intended to chop up and burn in my little fire pit, and I chopped them up, and I had them in the pile, and she called the city on me. And just that's the kind of mentality. She wouldn't be a D person either.
No.
She would be the one that she'd be complaining. She could probably mix in A and B together.
Right.
And it was so weird that right after she passed, and it was just all of a sudden, she just went to sleep, didn't wake up. And it was so crazy that the neighborhood just kind of morphed into like a, hey, I can live here now attitude.
Isn't that something?
In the whole neighborhood. I mean, the whole block turned to like, wow, this is different.
I lived next to a guy once that just had to have something to bitch about in the neighborhood every day. Had to have something to bitch about all the time. And I just hated it. But there are different types of personalities in the world. It's not necessarily an age different thing, but there's a lot of personalities that really are more involved with the concerns of what other people are doing or what other people have or don't have than what they are concerned. Their kids are running wild. They don't give 2 shits about their kids, but they're
opinionated about other people.
But they are very concerned about whether you're living your life right. But they themselves, their own house is tumbling down because they are not paying attention. And I maybe it's because I'm a little bit loopy anyway. I don't give a shit. But I don't really care about what somebody else is. As long as they're not hurting people, I don't care what anybody else is doing. I don't try to come in and judge them.
I tell people, I said, you know what? If it doesn't affect your paycheck,
right,
and it doesn't affect your bills, then it's not my business. You know what I mean? It's like when people get really upset, like when the Chiefs lose a close game, they get online, they spout for 10 pages.
I'm never going to be a Chiefs fan again.
They jump off the bandwagon and they go, I say, you know what? If it doesn't affect you as a human living your life, take it easy.
Right.
I mean, just look. It could be worse. We could be living in Oakland.
Yeah. If everybody would put their time and effort into focusing on their own situation, their kids, raising their own kids, right, helping out their own grandkids, that kind of stuff, instead of bitching about what the neighbor's doing and complaining and blah, 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 man, we'd have a much better world. We would.
Preach and I'm not going to go on a religion bashing thing. I'm not going to do that.
Because we don't talk religion?
We don't talk religion.
And we don't talk politics.
I'm just saying, like, I always describe people as, like, I'm a humanist.
Yeah.
I just try to be a good human. And that should take care of everything.
Yeah.
Without putting any labels.
You would think.
I'm labeling myself as a humanist.
Yeah.
I try to be a good human.
To to broaden that a little bit, I sometimes am concerned about, after I'm gone, what the world's going to be. As far as for my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, there are so many things that have improved so much over the last 40 years as far as quality of life and stuff like that. But then there's other stuff that's a double-edged sword, like the internet and social media. It's such a good thing, and then it's such a horrible thing. Horrible thing. And I just kind of wonder where our kids and our grandkids are going to be. Is it going to be a better place in 50 years, or is it going to be a worse place?
Exactly.
We've talked before, you kind of think people are going to see through it, and it's going to prevail to be good. I have my doubts.
I have the belief that there's a generation after this one. Okay, we're in our 50s.
I'm almost 60.
You're almost 60, so we're up there.
Yeah.
But there is a large proportion of the generation behind us that's not this kind of entitlement.
Yeah.
Kind of have this entitlement thing that they deserve to get something for nothing.
Right.
And I believe that next generation over from them will make a difference.
Because they're struggling. They're going to struggle.
The younger crowd now. I say younger. I don't even know where the cutoff line is. We're in our 50s, so I'm going to say 39 and to 25 has this entitlement mentality that don't work hard and you're going to get something out of it.
Right.
I've always been work hard and you're going to get something out of it. That's the way we were raised, because we both have worked our entire life.
Yeah.
I think the longest span in the last 35 years of me working, I had one day off between different jobs.
That's weird.
I left my job on a Monday and started the next job on a Wednesday, and then that's kind of my mentality. And this is where I thought my older kids, saw me get up and go to work every day. Every day.
Thought they'd rub off. Yeah.
Not so much as what I'd like to see, but it's getting better. But I don't know. I think this generation after I want to say 40 to 29. Is that a good span?
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Pardon me.
I think after that it's going to get better, and I seriously have hopes that it will. I think we're going to get through this mentality of not working, because what do you hear every day on the news, or not from the news, but from online critics that say they just want to sit on their butt and get paid for nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got to perform. One thing that, you've always, and we've talked about this a little bit on prior shows, you see a lot of people out there that are unhappy. They want to be entitled, right? But they're unhappy. But I don't think, and you've always heard that expression your whole life, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of people younger than us don't realize how truly horrible it was 60, 70, 80 years ago. My parents, my mom had a sibling that died when she was had started having strokes when she was in school age and died. My dad had a brother, a sibling that died at a couple days old. But the generation before them, my grandparents, they were like among 12 or 14 siblings, and a third of them died. They would have that many kids, hoping that enough of them would make it to adulthood to help with the farm. That was the plan back then. That was the only plan. And you go back and you look back. If you go back 4 generations, what was the lifespan? Not long. And also just a lot of death. Little common cold wiped out a lot of people. Winters, in general, just wiped out a lot of people.
Do you remember when 50 was old to you as a kid?
Yeah.
Because our relatives would die at 53, 54, 55.
Yeah.
Oh, he was almost 60. Oh, he lived a long life.
My grandparents were 54. One was 54 and the other one was 63 that died. And 63, like, wow, I can't believe he lived that long.
Yeah.
63. And I don't think people appreciate the fact that we have such quality of life now. They're more concerned with what the neighbor has that they don't, or the neighbor has when they feel like that neighbor shouldn't have it.
Right.
Which is just stupid thinking.
And not to be political, but we do have a lot of freedoms that make us live longer and happier here.
Yes.
That people don't take advantage of. I mean, I just read about people in North Korea were executed for like listening to something online, like a TikTok type thing.
Was it Yoko Ono? Were they listening to Yoko Ono?
No, but I watched that documentary.
I'm gonna chime in.
I watched the documentary on called Get Back on Disney, and I finished the last episode
with Yoko Ono.
With you, she was singing.
It's like cats in a bag scratching.
Oh man!
But back to what you're saying, yeah. That we have it so good.
We do have it good.
We have it so good. We have access to things like healthcare and stuff like that we've never have had before. We have it so good. And I think that there are a lot of people that are angry about it because other people have access to it too. And that's just wrong. That's just wrong thinking, isn't it?
And here's where I think, and I know there are people our age that don't think like we do, because you and I kind of think
we're on about the same.
Our circle that we run with,
right?
And I'm telling you, probably all of our friends that we know mutually and separately think logically,
right?
They don't see one side that is wrong, one side is right.
Right.
We kind of balance out, what people are saying, and I do that for everybody. I really do. Even if I don't agree, I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. Because if they are, maybe they're right. But our circle is logically thinking, to me.
But don't you think that our circle was created from exposure to actual reality that's out there?
Well, we grew up without the internet.
Well, we grew up without the internet, but also we've seen a lot of the world. We've seen a lot of the world. We've done a lot of things. We've been educated in a lot of similar things, media backgrounds, things of that nature. And it's amazing to see where our country's at, as opposed to it was when we were even kids. There were a lot of civil rights, really horrors going on.
Yeah.
When we were younger, and
we would only hear tidbits.
Right.
And now we can actually see the whole thing.
Right.
And this is what I was telling someone one day, and you and I actually have had this conversation, that news is so instantaneous now that we can actually see it as it's happening or see it within minutes of it happening.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. Before then, we didn't know about the Hillside Strangler so much in California because that was
Zodiac Killer. Zodiac Killer. That stuff.
We'd only catch wind of it on national news,
right.
But that was like, 15, 20-second package of a news broadcast that we'd hear about it, but it didn't concern us because we lived in the Midwest and this was in California.
Right. And the when the Charles Manson situation went on, what we really heard about was when the trial started. They would bring it up on national news, but when the situation actually occurred,
the Sharon Tate was huge, but we didn't know details until the trial started.
Exactly.
And so that was our key.
Exactly.
But like I said, news is instantaneous now. So
hey, Victor, have we gone an hour yet almost?
We're at 33, so we can wrap this one up.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up. This was episode 27?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Episode 27 of two old guys talking about stuff nobody cares about, although today, probably pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of people probably cared about it. But happy holidays. I think we're going to do another episode here real quick to broadcast along with it. Episode 28. Talk a lot about what we did or going to do for Christmas and how was our Thanksgiving. So I'm Curtis Coons. With me is Victor Garcia. Oh, and also we're at Valley TV Productions, and you can catch us on Real TV Now. Valley TV Production Studios.